Conspiracy always makes for some decent horror. That feeling that something bigger than one can imagine is going on behind the scenes and has been going on for ages really unnerves me, and it makes for some great movies. For my 28th pick, today's pairing does just that very well. Number 28 took me by surprise, having written my own low-budget disaster movie, Earthquake Underground, which is available on Tubi if you happen to be curious, and studying quite a few disaster movies to get the format down. I was interested in seeing how this strange disaster conspiracy cover-up monster dog movie from Korea actually was. Turns out it was awesome. Project Silence was released on July 12, 2024, and is available on demand and digital download from CJ Entertainment. It's directed by Kim Tae-gon and written by Kim Tae-gon, Park Joo-suk, and Kim Yong-hwa. When a dense fog rolls over South Korea, it causes a massive pileup in the middle of a bridge to a well-populated area. Among the twisted metal and wounded passengers is a military vehicle transporting a top-secret government experiment called Project Silence, a group of genetically altered dogs meant to be used in the military, but scheduled to be euthanized as inferior product. When the dogs are freed, they begin to massacre all of those on the bridge. A small group, including a government official and his daughter, a stoner tow truck driver, an elderly couple, a pro golfer and her caddy, and one of the scientists in charge of Project Silence, attempt to beat the odds and survive the night against ferocious super Rottweilers whose sole purpose is to destroy everything in their path. Project Silence is undeniably fun, following a typical disaster movie format by trapping a bunch of different people in a single location and then upending the world around them. Project Silence moves at a rapid pace from the beginning and never lets up. First, it smashes you in the face by putting you in the middle of a pileup to beat all pileups. Trucks overturn, cars wipe out people who get out to inspect their cars. The whole thing is mayhem, and director Kim Tae-gon places you smack dab in the midst of it. But just when you begin to calm down and the cars are all toppled, the dogs are let loose, and the real fun begins. Yes, it is a wonky premise, dogs genetically altered by the government running wild and attacking civilians, but again, this film doesn't let you breathe or think long enough to recognize this concept as so batshit crazy. The prolonged dog attack scenes are some glorious carnage to witness. One of the smarter things Project Silence does is keep the dogs obscured in the fog. Not only does this make things all the scarier, as at any time, toothy horror could leap from the swirling mist, the fog also covers up any CGI glitches that might be more obvious if visibility were clear. Don't get me wrong, the CG dogs are quite good, but the fog just makes them more real and menacing. This being a South Korean film, I think there are a few things that just don't translate well, and most of that involves the humor, which is often way too goofy and feels out of sync with the rest of the horror around it in Project Silence. One of the characters, a stoner tow truck driver, is constantly quipping and being shown in goofy situations. Those comedic effects characters don't really work in American disaster movies like Godzilla or San Andreas, and they don't work in Project Silence either. There's also a goofy scene where the golfer has to hit a golf ball at the windshield of a bus full of snarling dogs that felt unnecessary and put in there just to justify having a pro golfer among the survivors and give her something golfy to do. Again, it's unnecessary goofiness that distracts from the dire situation. Otherwise, this is a strongly acted and cleverly directed film that never lets up. There is a subplot about public knowledge about private military projects and one about the experimentation on the animals, but for the most part, Project Silence is just a straight-up and wildly ludicrous romp of a disaster film. Another conspiracy-laden flick was the found-footager Frogman, which many seemed to have loved this year. I found it fun, not great, but still worth mentioning in this list. Let's see how the film stacks up against my patent-pending found-footage authenticity questionnaire. Frogman was released on March 8, 2024, and is streaming on Screambox from Feral Child Films. It's directed by Anthony Cousins and written by Anthony Cousins and John Karsko. After capturing the elusive cryptid known as the Frogman on video as a child, documentary filmmaker Dallas, played by Nathan Timosuk, his cameraman Scotty, played by Benny Barrett, and actress Melissa, played by Sonia Busek, returned to the swampy riverbeds of Loveland, Ohio, in order to prove that the Frogman is real. Are the actors successfully acting like they aren't acting? For the most part, everyone is doing their job of being natural and unscripted. The weakest of the bunch, unfortunately, is the star, Nathan Timosuk, who struggles with the scenes when heavy emotional lifting is required. His character Dallas is supposed to be overcome with an obsession to get to the truth about the Frogman, but he's also reeling from a recent breakup and a budding relationship with Melissa. That's just too much this actor can carry, and while it does round out the character, it overloads Dallas and makes him just feel like he's all over the place and obsessing about everything. Had Dallas simply been driven to find the Frogman and the relationship with Melissa been cut, I think the character would have been much more focused and likable. Does the footage found seem authentic and untouched by additional productions, which means there's no omniscient editor making multiple edits between cameras or an invisible orchestra providing music? There are some musical cheats which took me out of the immediacy of Frogman and questionable editing between cameras that was just distracting. This is supposed to be an edited documentary, so the footage was put together as an entertaining documentary in the world of the film. I'll forgive Frogman for this transgression that would be a deal breaker for most, as I'm a stickler for authenticity in my found footage, and musical cues and edits from multiple cameras take away from that concept. Why don't they just drop the camera and get the hell out of there? Dallas is driven to find the Frogman, so that's the driving force to keep filming. Later, the camera is used as a light source in the tunnel, so the film does a good job of justifying why the cameras keep rolling. Is there an up-nose Blair Witch confessional or a wreck drag-away from the camera? There are a few drag-aways and late-in-the-game camera confessionals that felt old hat by now, and as these scenes have been spoofed, aped, and copied to death in other movies, I could have done without those. Does anything actually happen? Is the lead-in too long and the payoff too short? After the fun opening where Dallas sees the Frogman as a kid, there's an awful lot of getting to know you time before anything substantial happens. Sure, they try to pad the story out with Dallas's relationship angst, but again, I felt this was distracting and unnecessary. There is a nice conspiracy vibe going on throughout that has a strong build from small to gargantuan by the end, and the final moments stand firm, though the most shocking scene is torn straight from a far superior found footage film, The Taking of Deborah Logan. The ending, which leapfrogs from found footage to cinematically filmed footage, is abrupt, but offers up some nice perspective on the movie. Does Frogman add anything to the subgenre, and is it worth watching? While many tout Frogman to be the best found footage film of the year, I feel it simply goes through the motions decently, which in the case of most found footage films is much better than average. Many of the best scenes have been done better in other films. It does offer up a unique monster and lore behind it. I hear a sequel is in the works, so I hope it takes this series in new directions. Frogman is a decent little film that does offer a frantic ending with some solid scares. The ending kind of soured me on the film, though, as it doesn't paint the lead character in a good light. And since we are supposed to be rooting for him to survive against this monster and get over his relationship woes, it made me wish the monster got him instead. Once again and always, feel free to agree, disagree, or how about you play along at home and give me your own picks for your favorite horror movies. It's October, so let's talk horror. Come back tomorrow for the next level in the Best in Horror Countdown. Be sure to hit all of those pertinent bells and whistles down below, and you'll never miss a post. Happy Halloween, folks. Please do me a favor and punch that like button down below. Share this video with all of your social media addicted pals. Click subscribe to this channel and ring that bell for notifications. You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your reality. You're doomed. Oh, you're doomed. You're doomed. Live the life that you are meant to be. Live inside.